Good evening, ore diggers, and welcome to the fourth State of Mines. We're so glad you took the time to be with us this evening, and we appreciate that. My name is Doug Mayo. I'm the Chief Advancement Officer for the Mines Foundation, and I wanted to let you know why we invited so many of you to join us for this evening. Your actions have proven that you have an interest in mines, whether it's through giving or through participation or just showing your interest through clicking on our website or receiving our emails, and we're grateful for that. There's an awful lot to be excited about here this evening. And everything you're going to hear about this evening is engineered through the Mines at 150 strategic plan. And the fuel for that plan is this great mines community and your participation in the campaign for Mines at 150. That is the way that we take this vision for Mines at 150 and prepare mines for the next 150 years of greatness. I hope you'll see something that's exciting this evening. I know I am. If you are, participate, find out more information, or support the campaign for Mines at 150 so that that strategic vision can become a reality. So a couple of things this evening. You're going to hear from Mines leadership on a couple of topics. We've had some questions that have been submitted. There is an opportunity, if you have questions throughout the presentation, use the Q&A function on the Zoom call to enter those. We will answer as many of those as we can, but if we can't get to your question, please know that we'll follow up with you this evening and throughout the week. Again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for caring about mines. And I want to introduce the 17th president of Mines, President Paul Johnson.
All right, thank you, Doug. And hey, everyone, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to get out, hear what's going on at Mines. It's always exciting. I don't know if you caught the video at the beginning, but just watching that makes me pumped up about all the things that have been happening this year that we love to talk about. As Doug said, yeah, we'll give you kind of a quick overview, and then we're really looking forward to answering your questions. That's always the most fun part of this event for us every year. So, and really fortunate this time, after I talk, Kirsten Volpe is going to tell us some about sort of infrastructure and some financial things. Dan Fox is going to talk a little bit about student life and things going on there. And we're really, really lucky to have Blake with us here today to give us a student perspective on what's happening at Mines. So I just want to acknowledge all my co-panelists here before we get going. Just as a sort of point of time orientation for everyone, we are now, let's see, like sort of 4 weeks and a day away from the first graduation ceremony at the end of this year. It's going to be a pretty busy next 4 weeks. Next week is E-Days. And for many of actually for about 2/3 of our students, at least, they've never experienced a full E-Days because of pandemic limitations and things like that. So it's an opportunity, and I know everybody's looking really excited for that. I was going to say, if you happen to live downtown like Tim Haddon does, or work downtown like some of the other folks, come out next Friday morning to greet the ore cart pull group as they show up in the park downtown. And we read the annual proclamation that it's E-Days from the governor and the legislature. Week after that's Capstone Design Showcase, where our graduating seniors are going to be presenting their projects, and come on over to campus to see that. It's always a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to learning more about, we've got a team that's taking a Jeep Grand Cherokee and they're turning into an electric Baja vehicle that's going to compete in the National Baja competition in the fall. And that's a pretty cool project, and there are lots of other ones. 3 weeks from, let's see, a couple days from now, finals will start. And then, of course, we'll have graduation. And it'll be interesting to maybe get Blake's take on how he's feeling about the this year and what the next 4 weeks look like for him. You know, I find myself saying this every year when we get together for this, but I think it's been true every year, and that's just this has really been an amazing year for Mines. And there's never enough time to cover anything. And just to give you a sense for how, like, many things are going on and happen, they're just amazing. Just in the last few weeks alone, we've heard that our mining students won 2 national competitions. One right before spring break was a design competition. During spring break, for the first time in its 44-year history, our mining engineering students won the International Mining Games competition. They came back with a trophy that's like, I don't know, like this big. And I got to tell you, never seen a prouder group of students before that. You know, we thought that might have peaked it for the year, but then last week, our civil engineering students won the regional competition for the American Society of Civil Engineering regional competition, and they were the top student chapter in that group. Just last week as well, Professor Ali Tura and his co-authors were selected as having the best paper of the year by the Society of Exploration Geophysicists. And this is out of about 1,000 technical papers that were presented. So that's a pretty high honor. Our Vice President for Research and Technology transfer last week was on the other side of the country to pick up his Baldrige Foundation Award for Leadership Excellence. And you know, things just go on. I mean, this month we're being featured on Amazon Prime in the College Tour show as one of the universities there. And if you haven't seen that show yet, I really highly recommend you do. You get a great view of mines, and I think you'll just come away pumped up and so proud of what's going on here. And if you're wondering about how to keep up with all these things that are going on, which I can't, but I always recommend you take a look at the Mines newsroom. Every week I sort of take a look and it's like, wow, we're doing that, or our students have just done that, or our faculty have just done that. It's really cool. And I haven't even said anything about the student athletes, because I'm going to save that for Dr. Fox to mention something about the amazing year that our student athletes have had as well. You know, while we've sort of focused on what's happening in 4 weeks in graduation, we've got another big date on our calendar, and that's 2 years from now. And I suspect probably in conjunction with E-Days, we are going to have one of the biggest 150th year anniversary celebrations you've ever seen. And I hope you'll come out for that as well. Of course, we've just been laser focused on our Mines 150 strategic plan and becoming that top of mind and first choice university that we aspire to be, and that we've all been talking about. We've been seeing indications that the strategic plan and all the activities under it are you know, they're having an impact. We've already witnessed this year, and I think we're going to see this as well going into next year, that we're growing even more competitive at recruiting the students that we want to come to Mines. The yield of students that we've accepted has been going up pretty dramatically. That's what resulted in us having the largest incoming class ever in Mines history this past fall. And it looks like we're going to have another amazing class coming in next fall. We've also gotten way more competitive at going after big grants for research from federal funding agencies and industry. Just in the last 5 years, our amount of grants and awards we've received has grown from sort of about $50 million to almost $90 million a year in what's coming in. So almost a doubling in the level of research activity going on. And that's resulted in Mines this year, just a couple months ago, being elevated to what's called R1 research status. And this is a really big deal for universities to get to that level. And it's just a great accomplishment for Mines. There are only 146 out of about 5,000 universities in the country that have achieved R1 status in the research world. And I always try to think of what's the analogy for it. But it's if you I don't know how many of you watch Ted Lasso on Apple, but that's like one of my binge watching ones. But it's like getting bumped up to the Premier League. You gotta earn it. You get up there. You can fall backwards from there. But we've grown, and we had a big celebration on campus about getting to that level. And, you know, sometimes I ask myself, how have all those things happened when, after all, how is it that we've got more interest and more students wanting to come to Mines when the number of students going to college has declined across the US and will continue to for quite a while. And we've just gone through a pandemic and all these other things, big challenges in the world. And what I think it is that at the end of the day, it's sort of, it's what Minds has always been about. And that is we have this great, really great story to tell, right? We produce this very unique graduate, and everybody can tell a Minds graduates from other graduates. It's that graduate that hits the ground running and can do things and just has an amazing career. We have got great return on investment. We always appear at the top of lists for colleges and universities for return on investment in getting a degree from Minds. And in fact, this year we learned that Georgetown University's Center on Education determined that Minds was the #2 public university in the country for return on investment for low-income students going to college. So another thing we're very, very proud of, and that's that transformative opportunity that that a degree from Minds really works out for our students and their families and their trajectories for years to come. I think also the research is growing because of the expertise here is so critical to the future of really our state, our country, and the planet. And some people might even say with our space resources program, the universe. So I think this is the place for the topics of today with the expertise that's here and the type of students that we graduate. So I think it's really cool to see that happening. But of course, we can do better, and we need to do better, and that's what we're focusing on. Of course, if we always want our graduates to be that sort of hit the ground running, very distinctive graduate, we know that we've got to adjust with time. 50 years ago, it might have been important for to hit the ground running that you could use a slide rule, but that's not a skill set that's part of hitting the ground running today. It's other things, and what we've heard from alumni, employers, even our students, is that in order for our graduates to be that top tier, hit the ground running group, more professional development while they're here at Minds, more business acumen, being prepared for leadership roles, and really developing entrepreneurship and innovation skills while they're here at Minds. So those have been a big focus of the Minds at 150 plan. And just to mention a few of those things, it's again another big year where you can see a lot of changes happening. We've launched what's known as the Viejo Irvin Professional Development Program. That's focused on the deliberate professional growth of our students while they're here at Minds. We launched this past fall our Business Engineering and Management Sciences program, as well as we're making changes to the core so that all of our students will have more exposure to financial literacy topics. On the leadership side of things, we now have 3 scholars communities that really have leadership cores to them. Blake is a member of one of them, and maybe he'll tell you a little bit about that. But in addition to the Harvey Scholars Program, we've got the Gruck Presidential Scholars Program. We've got the Grandy Leadership by Design Program. Again, all working on those things that we said really need to be important for our graduates. And then, of course, in the entrepreneurship and innovation space, we have launched the McNeil Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which does programming, is teaming up with our first-year design programs as well as our capstone design programs. And we've launched infrastructure to help support our entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem. And I was going to show you a picture of what some of that infrastructure looks like. And hopefully you can see the screen. But the first part that we built was actually the McNeil classrooms on the front of our first parking garage. The next 2 components that are going up, this is the Labriola Innovation Complex. It's about 40,000 square feet of hands-on everything and project space for students to work in. So this is the place where we talk about doubling down on our hands-on education. Giant makerspace, capstone classes will be in here. First-year design classes will be in here. Machine shops, 3D printing labs, you name it, will be in this place. The upstairs is all about spaces that student teams can meet and work in at any time of the day. Huddle rooms, walls you can write on, and all sorts of stuff. We are so excited. This is going up. It's, of course, as a result of the lead gift Frank and Mary Labriola made to Minds, as well as some student fees are going into here, and other support from folks like Don Thorson and others So this is another one of those things that is really, it's a donor-driven, supported initiative and we're just really, it's already underway going up, and maybe about a year from now, we'll be opening the doors on that. So it'll be a big feature of our Minds at 150 celebration in a couple of years. The second component is, this is sort of where students start to nucleate ideas, think about things, get to prototype things. At the other end of the spectrum, when you get to the point where maybe you want to launch a product or you want to launch a company, things like that, you're going to go over to the Beck Venture Center, which is this next building, which is also just starting to go up on the down on Washington Avenue, faces out into the community. It'll probably be done about the same time as the Innovation Hub. And we're going to have the ribbon cutting ceremony for that week. The programming is already underway in another building. We have about 20 sort of venture entities underway. About a third are student driven, about a third are faculty offshoots, and about a third are from alumni. So this is a program and a building that will support alumni initiatives as well. So we're pretty excited about that. And of course, we're very grateful to Mike and Kelly Beck for giving the lead gift on this. And we'll be announcing some of the other gifts that are involved with supporting this center as well. So those are going up. I'm gonna hand it over at this point. And Kirsten Volpe is our executive vice president for, she'll tell you what all the things she's vice president for. It's a long list. And as we like to joke, it also includes parking. But in any case, she's going to tell you about some other infrastructure that's going on and underway. And in particular, one of our Minds at 150 goals is to increase our partnerships and be a top of mind first choice for partners. And she's going to talk about a building that involves a very particular and very valuable partnership for Minds, as well as talk about one of our other goals, which is to have enough housing capacity for having students living as close to campus as possible, and what we're doing about that. So with that, I'm looking forward to answering your questions in a little while, but I'm going to turn it over to Kirsten. And Kirsten, I'll flip the slide to the first one that you look to, and then I'll turn it off after you talk about that.
Great. Thank you very much, President Johnson, and welcome. Thank you all for joining tonight. As President Johnson mentioned, this is a project that we actually have been working with the United States Geological Survey for a couple years. It is really an expansion of our longstanding partnership with the USGS, well over 40-year partnership on research, on many curriculum type of activities. We are very grateful and thankful for our Congressman Perlmutter, who was very successful and driven to get this building funded through last year's Investment in Infrastructure and Jobs Act that was signed last year. So we look forward to working with the federal government and get this building going. We're in the replanning phases right now, as you can see on the screen. We have it quite well planned, but there's some changes that we need to make to it, but we're in the phases right now of making sure that we've got the right facility for Minds and USGS. It will be the USGS's minerals division that will come onto campus, as well as our energy division, which will be fantastic partners for what Minds does in our minerals and also our energy divisions as well. So very excited. We hope to, I'm really hoping that we can start the construction sometime in 2023. It's a very complex building. It'll take a couple years to build, but this will be a really important partnership for Minds and for the USGS. As President Johnson mentioned, we've got many other infrastructure projects that are on the that we're in the planning phase for, and that we're actually starting to implement. Housing is one of those, and making sure that we've got capacity for all of our freshmen, all of our sophomores that want to live on campus, that can live on campus. And we're also increasing the capacity for our upper division, junior and seniors and graduate students. So the project that is nearing the most or nearing time for construction is our redevelopment of Mines Park. So we are in the process of a multi-phase project that will include renovations of some existing housing units, as well as demolition and building of new units as well. So right now we've got a little over 500 beds up at Mines Park, and we'll be doubling that with this project. It'll be done in several years with the culmination in 2024, which is our 150th celebration. So very excited that project. We're nearing completion on all the agreements, and we should see some dirt movement at the end of May and early June. So happy about that. We're also planning for the next sophomore housing. We put sophomore housing up a couple years ago, and we are in the phases right now of planning for the next level of sophomore housing to really provide that full capacity for all the sophomores that want to live on housing. And then coming with that will also be dining and recreation. We are bursting at the seams for our dining and rec facilities, so happy to have those projects going. And because we keep building on top of parking lots, a parking garage is in our not so distant future. So we're very excited about our first parking garage, and we are now in the planning phases for our second. And just like our current parking garage, it will have a classroom building that we will attach to the front of it. So that will be coming along here in the next year as well. As we look at a lot of our capital infrastructure, we've really been able to maintain strength in our financial position. Through the last 5 years, we've been able to increase financial aid to our students more than 35% over a 5-year period. That's been a real focus of ours in supporting our students on all levels. So we're really thrilled to be able to do that. And really the strength in our financial position, it's from a multitude of ways, but our strong enrollment for our undergraduate students has been very significant. The state over the last couple of years has been able to provide more support than they have. So that's been an important element of where we see our revenue. And then most certainly the philanthropy that we get through donors and through our partners has been significant. We couldn't do many of the capital projects that we do. Much of the financial aid comes from our donors and from our partners. Support of our operations, that is a significant component of the strength of our financial position. So we're, as part of what President Johnson said, my title is Executive Vice President, also CFO. So when I have my CFO hat on, I'm very pleased to be able to be able to tell you all that we're in a good place. We're able to achieve what we need to do to maintain and manage our drive towards our Mines at 150 strategic plan. And just happy to be able to share that good news with you all tonight. So thank you for indulging me and listening to me. And I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Dan Fox.
Thanks very much, Kirsten. Hello, Ore Diggers. Hope you're having a good evening. It's good to see you again. I was just gonna underscore a couple of things that Kirsten said. We're very excited about the project at Mines Park. We're calling it the Village at Mines Park, and really the other part of it is really being able to enhance the common spaces out there, and in terms of the retail dining that we're going to expand, the recreation space that we need and that we're going to use, and building small and large group study spaces and outdoor gathering spaces. Really a nice mix between the natural topography and the outdoors that are there that most Coloradans love, and what we'll do with learning and living at Mines. So very excited about that renovation and expansion, as Kirsten alluded to. It's really, really exciting. And yes, we are already moving students around, and we will start that project this summer. So can't be more thrilled about seeing that need being attended to. I was trying to think of what are all the things I should bring up tonight, and in the interest of time, I want to be careful. There's so many things happening in student life. This year has been more traditional again, I think, to the thrill of all of our students, and so we're glad. So a few things I will share. I often get questions these days still about with what's happening with Career Center and what happened through this pandemic related to that. This past year, we did offer our typical career days, one in the fall and one in the spring. We did those in both a virtual and an in-person format to try to maximize opportunity through employers as well as for our students. We had over 600 employers attend that. That is very strong interest. That was comparable to the interest that we saw before the pandemic, and then throughout we saw it go down a little, and now it's returned very strongly. Over 6,000 students participated in this year's career day opportunities, being in the fall and the spring combined, which is the highest number we have seen to date as well. Our graduates continue to accept positions all over this state, this country, and the world. About 56% or so of our students will stay in Colorado post-graduation for our undergrads, and about 60% of our graduates will stay in Colorado. So as a state institution, we're serving Colorado well, and the remainder of that 40 to 44%, they go everywhere that you can possibly think of. So excited to see and thankful that the brand, the degree, and the learning is still highly desired wherever it may take our students as they become professionals. The other thing that we just completed was our annual Career Center report that does depict in much greater detail a lot of the numbers and things that I was talking to you about. I can put it in the chat. I have a link, and I'll try to do this afterward. Relative to that report. It's definitely worth a read. It's very colorful, it's very interactive. There's lots of different testimonials and stories from our students. So it reads much more like I would say like a good informative magazine than just a basic dry report. So would encourage you to take a look at that. And when I pass it over to Blake, I'll go ahead and put that link in. As President Johnson alluded to, some highlights with athletics. I want to talk a bit both about the academic and the athletic success that we've enjoyed this past year. As you may have seen from the video, but to give you a little bit of numbers, we had 5 first-placed RMAC teams this past year so far, and we're not done yet. 4 in the regular season, and then 1 tournament champion. We had 27 of our students graduate from the school at the December commencement ceremonies that were student athletes. So we love to see that matriculation continue. 28 of our student athletes this past year were All-Americans. There was actually a total of 40 All-Americans, but some of our student athletes are multiple All-Americans. They may be on the cross-country team and then on the indoor track team, etc. So done very, very well. Additionally, 16 academic All-Americans, some of which were both athletic and academic All-Americans, which always just kind of blows my mind. In relative to our conference, which is the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, they pick a singular athlete for each sport that was the most academically, I guess, prowess for the past year. We had 6 out of our 18 sports that were selected as the academic athlete of the year. That is double what any other university accomplished in the RMAC this past year. So very proud about that. The fact that on the court, on the field, in the pool, wherever the venue may be, we're highly competitive in all of our sports, exceptionally successful in many of those in terms of championships. And academically, I think we lead the league as well. We lead that charge. That all kind of culminates with the Learfield Cup. Many of you are familiar with the Learfield Cup. That is a national cup that is competed with. About 350 NCAA programs are members of that in competition. After they do a fall, a winter, and a spring final, and after the spring, then it's the overall champion. At the end of the fall season, we were ranked #1 in the country out of those 350 schools based on our fall sports success. After the winter, we are now #2 in the country out of those 350. And so I hope we'll see how we end. The best finish we've ever had is 6th in the country. And I'm hopeful that we may be able to get the top 5 this year. Either way, I'm so proud of our athletes in terms of what they do in the classroom and on the fields as well. The other thing that you may be aware of, and I hope you are, is that we have great excitement for our new head football coach, Brandon Moore. He'll be making his debut this fall. We've had some spring things just happen recently with spring ball. Hopefully you've been a part of that. And we should be having a new field installed this summer. So he should be debuting with a new field, a new turf field for Marv K Stadium, and as our new head coach. So if you haven't met Brandon yet, I'm sure he'd love to meet all of you. He's very engaging and excited about the future of our football team. The last thing I wanted to mention too is that many of you, or most of you, I think are aware, but maybe not. I am retiring this summer from Mines after 17 years. And it's just been an incredible ride, and I think a great deal of success. But most of that success is through partnership. And you certainly, as alumni, as donors, as friends, as parents, as interested parties, huge part of what we've been able to achieve in my tenure at Mines. Being here since 2005, it's really dramatically changed. The private support has and continues to really positively impact our students. I see it on a daily basis. I see it in small ways up to huge ways, and immediate ways to long-term ways. And I just wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you for being engaged and being what I call our active ore diggers. That impact to the students, student life, Mines writ large, is essential to us to be able to fulfill that. So that component to me needs to be underscored, and I just want to say thank you. As I think about these recent times with the pandemic, what's happening in the world, and with the conflicts and things that are going on, the concern for students and my staff and the entire Mines community, the well-being, relieving stress and the pressures and the burdens with finances and basic needs of food, shelter, water, textbooks, just all the impacts that we've all had to kind of go through. Mines is stronger than ever, and it's stronger because we've stuck with each other, and this collective and individual experience that we've went through, I think, has made us an even better community and a better institution. So my thanks to you, particularly with the Student Emergency Fund. We've had to utilize that heavily, as I've talked about at other webinars here or other town halls. Marshall Fire lately, some of our Ukrainian students are recent examples of that need, as well as the Student Experience Fund, which is kind of the other side of that same coin, where students who otherwise wouldn't have opportunities to explore professional development opportunities, to be able to test their leadership skills, they're being given opportunities through that fund. And those funds are funded by all of the folks that are on here tonight and others as well. So for me, I just wanted to say very much thank you for the bottom of my heart, for your engagement, like I said, for your caring, and I hope you'll continue to do that for years to come. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Blake, because I'm sure you'd rather hear from the student perspective than the old student life guy. And Blake, I know Blake is a Harvey Scholar. I think I think you're environmental, and I recognize you, and I know our paths have crossed a little, but I thought it'd be better for you to introduce yourself in the best way that you would like, Blake, and then share some thoughts. So I'll turn it over to you, Blake.
That's good, thanks. Yeah, I'll give a quick introduction and then kind of talk about my experiences and with just kind of with the general student body and with alumni support and with the scholarship communities. So yeah, hello again, my name is Blake. I'm a third year in environmental engineering. I'm originally from Wellington, Colorado. It's a small town just about 10 minutes north of Fort Collins. And yeah, I've gotten the opportunity to be part of a lot during my time here at Mines. Some of my favorite kind of associations and clubs I've been a part of has been Mines Without Borders. For my first 2 years at Mines, we were doing a project, water distribution project in Los Gomez, Nicaragua. I learned a lot there. I'm part of the club triathlon team and also currently doing some undergraduate research with constructed wetlands, which I've really enjoyed this past year. And I was able to study abroad last semester in Spain. So I've been doing a lot, and I've enjoyed my time so much here that I'm sticking around for a fifth-year master's degree in humanitarian engineering. And yeah, those are the big things. And also, yeah, as PCJ has mentioned, I'm part of the Harvey Scholarship community, and that's been a really defining part of my experience here at Mines. But just kind of going over like the last couple of years, my experience here it's been full of ups and downs. It's been full of COVID and no COVID, and then COVID online, and then half and half, and now back fully in person. So it's been interesting to say the least, having to being here freshman year and having my first semester normal, having to go all online spring semester and transition to online learning, which is something I was never done before and did not like at first. And then coming back, I was lucky enough to have my really like the hands-on experiences that I think make that where I felt like I've learned the most in my degrees, such as my environmental lab and field session. I got to have those in person. So we actually got to go out and take measurements, do sampling, coming back and then giving presentations to kind of our clients. So that has been really, really fun. But definitely the COVID kind of has highlighted that you need to be persistent, you need to be determined and have a lot of patience in order to kind of go through the school, go through the curriculum, and kind of end up with learning as much as you can through the whole experience. I think, yeah, and I am here and I'm able to have these experiences because of alumni support, because of Hugh Harvey and the scholarship. It's been it's had such a huge impact on me, not just with like the financial help, but also leadership and just personal development. Harvey is a student-run scholarship, so we have a student board who helps run everything that comes with scholarship. The whole motto is pay it forward. So like recognizing what we have and the blessings that have been in our life, and then trying to pay that forward to other people. So it's a big part of it. And part of that paying it forward is, as students, we read through the applications for the next group of scholars, the next people who are applying to the scholarship. And we're very, Hugh has allowed us to take ownership of that process. And as 2 years ago, I was the applications coordinator, so I really helped run that. And it was just an awesome experience. It's something that's so unique, and it's really cool to work with my fellow Harveys to go through this process and select the next group. So yeah, in that way, really directly, I've been impacted by alumni support. Also just networking and I think professional development. In my intro to environmental engineering class, we had 4 recent graduates from the environmental engineering program come and talk about what they do now. Most of them were in consulting and water treatment. So it was super cool to see them talk about, I remember being in your place. Now I'm applying these skills in the real world. And I actually was able to connect with one of the presenters, and that is how I found out for the opportunity for my internship this summer. So that has been super awesome to be able, and I think that's something that I think we as students really appreciate, is that interaction with people in industry, because we just want to know. We're doing all this coursework, and I think we're also pretty excited to be able to apply that and transition to the real world. And yeah, so that's been super cool. I've really enjoyed that. And I've kind of talked about it, yeah, but the Harvey community has been such a big part of my experience here. It's where I met a lot of my good friends, and do a lot of service events and just general events and other stuff with them. So that's been a huge part, and I think that really kind of highlights like the big impacts that alumni engagement can have, and through Hugh and being able to talk with him and have him trust us to have the student run the application process and just the student run board in general. So yeah, I think that's kind of what I have to share with you guys. Thank you for allowing me to come and share the student perspective. But yeah.
Great, Blake. Thank you for that. And congratulations on all the things that you've accomplished thus far, and best wishes as you continue on your journey in your master's program. It's exciting. And there are so many of these types of examples, Blake's being one, that just remind us all of how important it is that we support what our outstanding students and faculty get to do. So thanks for joining us, Blake. Dr. Fox, obviously lots of congratulations to you and all of the comments from the group this evening. Thank you for all that you have done for us and that you continue to do. We're grateful for that. So maybe it's best at this point we move to our Q&A session. Appreciate those of you who submitted questions when you RSVP'd, and certainly all of you who are doing those through the Q&A function. Please do continue to do so. We will tackle those as we can, and those that we can't get to during the session this evening, we will follow up and appreciate that. But President Johnson, it looks like there's an awful lot of questions around lots of different topics. There's questions about some of our projects that you and Kirsten spoke about, some of the design functions and our intentionality as it relates to maybe renewable energy and thus far. So maybe we'll start there.
Sure. Yeah. And so Sarah had a great question about whether or not any of our buildings included LEED certification, and are we doing any sorts of renewable energy projects to help provide power to campus. And Kirsten, you'll go down in history as probably the person that's built the most buildings on the Mines campus. So I think that this particular aspect of things is not as well known to the community as perhaps it should be. So maybe a little comment on, when you're thinking back over sort of the buildings that have gone up over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, what have we done about things like LEED certification, and what's going on right now in this summer about renewable energy infrastructure?
Thank you, President Johnson, and absolutely, it's a great question. So as President Johnson noted, we have been building a lot for quite some time, and we've definitely been moving over the last 5, 6 years to really be in a position where we can support renewable energy much stronger. All of the projects that we're looking at are LEED Gold. We do have our first LEED Platinum project on campus, and it's our sophomore housing that's on right across the street from Safeway. That has solar on it. And then as President Johnson noted, we are at the end of this month, early May, for those of you that will be on campus, you will see us start to work to install rooftop solar on probably about 8 to 10 rooftops that we have across campus. We want them to be very visible. They'll be an important part of our energy usage. And we will also have, hopefully you'll be able to see this if you're on campus, solar picnic tables. They're quite interesting looking, but they're going to be self-powered and going to be hopefully really fun for the students. The project that both Dr. Fox and I talked about up at Mines Park, its name is the Village at Mines Park, a sustainable community. And so the Village at Mines Park is going to be LEED Gold minimum, and we are working towards net zero energy. We're going to have solar panels also up in Mines Park, and we're also putting in the infrastructure to be able to, in the future, have recycled water and to really expand our sustainable footprint there. So I think some real important advances that we're making that just go right in line with who we are as a university.
Yeah, thanks, Kirsten. And I was going to say, it's not just, it's sort of, I guess it's just not entirely an administrative decision that we're heading this direction, but this is something the campus community has been asking of us as well. And I know Blake and his fellow students, we hear from them frequently about very, very similar questions. What are we doing? And Kirsten, could you just sort of mention how students are being engaged in some of these efforts? Absolutely.
So the president and I have met a couple times with I don't know if it's a solar club or a renewable energy club, but they've really been pushing us and passionate about where they want to see Mines be, and they're very active in our whole sustainability program, whether that's events that are on campus, composting, awareness, but they're also part of the planning process. Both our faculty and our students are part of the planning process. So as the president mentioned, it's not it's not just us administrators that are putting this together. It's really driven by our students' passion for really making the earth a better place. So it's really exciting to see their level of engagement.
Great. And while I've got you, Kirsten, I thought I'd corner you for a question from Tim Haddon, and Brent's question sort of feeds in this, but you know, Tim Haddon, who is one of the two namesakes of our first parking garage, which is known as the Haddon Jordan parking garage, it was asking about parking rates, but we've got special rates for Tim, but Brent was asking a question about whether or not parking costs are included in tuition, or is that something sort of separately paid for by students? So do you want to handle that one?
Yeah, well, you know, this would not be a great state of minds if we didn't talk parking. So, so really appreciate the questions. So just quickly to answer Trustee Haddon's question is the parking rates are reasonable enough, and we balance the budget. So we'll just put it there. And then Brent, to your question, parking rates are only charged if you bring a car to campus. So, you know, we are really wanting to have ride sharing and have RTD. Our students have RTD passes. So if you don't bring a car to campus, you don't pay parking. So that's an important thing for students. So it's not included in our tuition and fees at all. And I do see there was also a question on tuition, and you know, what are we doing to, you know, manage the balance of cost of inflation and moderating tuition, and that's a tricky balance. And as I mentioned earlier, the state is providing a little bit more revenue this year to help us manage our tuition increases. So that is very much appreciated. And for 2 years in a row, we did not increase tuition for resident students, and one of those years did not increase it for non-residents. So we are being very thoughtful and mindful of how to do that balance of managing the tuition rates and also managing the cost of inflation that we see today and will likely continue.
Great, thanks, Kirsten. And I want to acknowledge Susan's comment that she sent in about, you know, in addition to athletics teams doing really well on the sidelines, we always have our cheer squad and spirit squads, and they have been amazing. They're a really important part of the game day experience. And yes, the cheer group for the first time earned a spot in the national competition in January, and we were pretty excited for them to see that happen. And I know a few of the members of that team, so really a lot of fun to see that happen. Hey, Blake, we had a question that was submitted beforehand that I thought maybe you might be uniquely qualified to answer, because it had to do with sort of undergraduate research. And the question was really noticing that we'd achieved R1 status. Would there be more opportunities for undergraduate research? And absolutely, we're looking for ways to grow that. But would you maybe just sort of comment on how you got your research experience and what you're getting out of it, and what, you know, do you know other students who also have opportunities, and maybe give people a little insight to that, because for some of our alums that may not have been an opportunity when they were here on campus.
For sure, yeah. So I'm doing my research through MRF, the Mines Undergraduate Research Fellowship, and I started this last semester just from reaching out to one of my professors. I knew that there was a spot opening up because my other friend was studying abroad. So I reached out and he was like, yeah, there's a position open. And we kind of talked, and I was able to do that starting this semester. So there definitely is a lot. I think mine's is super unique, and I appreciate the smaller sizes, especially class sizes in upper levels, because you can have that relationship with the professors, and you're able to reach out and kind of look up and say, hey, like, I see you're doing this research. Is there any opportunity for me to get involved in that? And that's kind of how I was able to do it this semester. And then moving forward to next year, I'm planning on continuing it. And this year I'll be applying officially through the MRF, the Undergraduate Research Fellowship. And I have quite a few friends who are also doing it. who are also environmentalists and in other departments. And it's a really cool opportunity. And yeah, I think a lot of people, we take advantage of it. I know a lot of my friends are in it, and I've definitely learned a lot from it and have really enjoyed my experience so far.
All right, thanks for sharing that, Blake. And I was a little disappointed that you didn't say that one of your most memorable experiences was having to get up at 7:30 in the morning on Mondays and Wednesdays to survive my class. But anyway, I think all the things you mentioned were much better than that experience. So I think that's pretty good. I'm looking through the list of things. Dean, I'm looking at your request for some riffs on the guitars, and I have a feeling we'll have to do like a fundraising thing around that, where we do one of these, and if people donate enough money by the end of the event, I'll pick up that guitar and do something. So thanks for stimulating that thought. The foundation people love that. I can tell that smiles on their faces already. But we had a question in from Courtney Littlefield, and I was going to invite in our provost, Dr. Rick Hulse, to maybe help us answer this one. So Rick, the question was, what are we doing about expanding the space resources program? And do we have, partnerships or plans to, expand and strengthen our ties that we have with the aerospace industry?
Yeah, great question, Courtney. Thank you. Thank you, President Johnson. So yes, we are expanding the space resources program. It's currently not a department, it's an interdisciplinary program. The numbers of students have been growing. We've got around 100 total students in the program thus far at all levels, PhD, master's programs. We are investing in it by hiring additional faculty in this area. We've got a search that's currently launched to add additional faculty, and we will likely have to continue to add faculty in that area. With regard to establishing more partnerships, we have very strong partnerships with numerous aerospace companies. In fact, all of them, many of them attend the career day. Dan could probably comment on that in more detail. A lot of our students get jobs there. They've told us they're particularly interested in electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, and computer scientists. And so with that in mind, we do have an aerospace minor that was developed. We also are talking about an interdisciplinary aerospace, what we're tentatively terming plus programs, where a student could be in any one of the three majors I just mentioned and take an additional 18 credits. This is all under discussion, so nothing's finalized yet. And do that in aerospace, so they get, say, a mechanical engineering degree with this plus aerospace concentration to help them be able to hit the ground running on day one in, say, Lockheed Martin or any of our aerospace partners. So we are working on campus to strengthen that particular partnership and pathway for our students to get jobs in that industry.
Great, thanks, Rick. And I just thought I'd mention, like just last night, Ball Aerospace was on campus with a special meeting for students, and they've actually helped us to develop a couple courses that they think are particularly valuable for students going in the aerospace industry. And so we're looking forward to growing all of those partnerships, and with Colorado being such a big hub of aerospace activity, we see that as being really, really important. I'm trying to, let's see, I think Rick, since I got you, just real quick, Hoy had a question about, it's basically, there are a lot of things, a lot of metals that are becoming especially important. Traditionally, we've sort of, kind of mined them from raw resources, but the recycling of those is becoming more important. And it's a very similar thing to extractive metallurgy of sort of raw earth resources, but now going to other things. And could you just make a sort of quick comment about, because I know you have a faculty search going on right now that sort of looked in this area. Would you maybe make a real quick comment about that?
Yeah, we do. We have a cluster search right now going that includes the extractive metallurgy. We've got a tenure track position that's also looking at extractive metallurgy that's separate from the cluster. And we just hired a faculty member from the University of Florida that does rare earth chemistry to add to our group of, we now have, we have 3 other rare earth chemists on campus who are doing work on rare earth separations. So and we're also looking for some additional mining faculty that could be work in this area as well. So this is a really important area for mines.
Great, thank you, Rick. Kirsten and Dan, I was going to ask you to sort of tag team on this one. We had a sort of a couple questions in there that are, kind of a touch on a little bit about, Tim asked a little bit about what we're doing to limit tuition. And then Justin sort of made a comment about sharing his experience at Mines about one of his challenges was, sort of dealing with financial issues as much as the challenging nature of the courses. And I thought it might be interesting for people to hear first. Kirsten, just kind of in general, we've had a couple of years with no tuition increases. We've increased financial aid, sort of relative. I know the numbers relative to kind of inflation and other things, where we are today versus where we were, for example, 5 years ago, and what sort of the trend the cost of mines education has been on relative to sort of just costs in general across the world. And then Dan, maybe comment a little bit about what I think what your shop does to try to help to sort of find students who are having challenges and then try to support them, and how it, as you started off in your intro comments, how important private support and philanthropy has been for us to be able to do those things to help students out. So Kirsten.
Yeah, I'll thank you. I'll jump in quickly. So, great question. And that is always a struggle for Mines, because we're a high cost university. We're all engineering and science, which is, it costs a lot to educate students. So over the last 5 years, what we've seen, as I mentioned earlier, is we've deliberately put more money towards financial aid. So we looked at analysis that said, all right, how much are our students actually paying their tuition minus financial aid? And when we look at that, our tuition, we're not keeping up with inflation. So inflation on the tuition side. So we deliberately wanted to keep tuition lower. Again, a couple years of 0% increases. We had a year of 0% fee increases. And we were really in a position, and where we are today is we're behind on where inflation has been to where our tuition rates are. So had we increased our tuition rates with inflation, we'd be in a much higher position than we are today. So as we look at where we are today, again, as I mentioned earlier, the state is really helping to moderate the tuition increase for next year. So something that we focus on very strongly, and partly, and we talked a little bit about it earlier with Space Resources being a really important online program. As we build out some of these online programs, as we build out some of our in-person master's thesis programs, that really allows us to diversify our revenue and with the intent to help moderate our core undergraduate tuition rates. So, it is an absolute balance and focus for us that I'm pleased to say from a student and a parent perspective that we have not kept our tuition rates up with inflation. We've been lower than inflation over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think what I would add is, it's interesting, and this will be a little bit indirect, but when we talk about sustainability, and I think with the infrastructure that we're building and to better reflect Mine's unique commitment to earth, energy, and environment and student life, I always think about these terms, and I think about sustainability in a broader way, the sustainability of the students' ability to matriculate through the institution, whether that be through support services or financial support. And so, as President Johnson alluded to, with several of the meetings I meet in each week, we are really trying to get a sense of are the ends meeting for students, and in many cases they're close, but they're not quite there. And so it isn't just a student emergency fund, but that is the point of entry oftentimes in a formal way when we have conversations with students and they're struggling in some basic need financially. And so we always point them to that because it is an application. We don't just hear a story and say, okay, we'll just take that at face value and say, here, we'll help. And the help isn't always necessarily in dollars. It can be in it can be in supplies. It can be in used computers that we loan. It can be food from our pantry. It can be a little help with rent for a month or something. And I gotta say, I feel very confident that the dollars that are given there are allocated appropriately and are 100% to that need. And I would say our students are exceptionally modest in their requests in general. And I think that doesn't probably surprise many of you, but they won't even ask for all that they need. They just need a little bit more in that. And then that's that sustainability concept of the last thing we want is for a student to stop out for a semester because they may not return. And if they do return, they can get a bit out of sequence, which is a challenge sometimes. And then that extends their education in a manner that isn't what they want to do. And so I just, as much as the institution can do that, and we certainly have a lot of skin in that game, the private and corporate support towards those other kind of categories that don't always show up on the ledger sheet are really difference makers. And countless stories of students coming back and parents saying, you know, without that one little help, I'm not sure my son or daughter or I would have graduated. And those are students that just go on and do fantastic things. And so we try to just make sure that if we hear the stories and we listen, and then where we can help, we help. And then we ask people, our young students that as they become them, we ask them to pay it forward too. And remember, you know, what helped you now, try to help somebody in the future, because our students do give. They are givers as well. They're just at a little bit different place in their life.
Great. Thank you, Dan. And as you know, as Blake mentioned, that's one of the obviously one of the features of his scholars program, to the Harvey Scholars Program, is really thinking about that and developing that giving back attitude. Real quick, I'm gonna be mindful of people's time. We've sort of hit the hour, and so I think we're gonna wrap up. I would just sort of say, since we featured business programs a lot here in the discussion, that Stephen had a question about how we're going to balance new business leadership initiative coursework with traditional strong fundamental education in each academic degree. And I'll just sort of say real briefly, and Stephen, I'm happy to follow up with you on this. Some of that's happening sort of through the core. We're trying to build financial literacy in through, you know, what might have been a traditional sort of macroeconomics class, have something that's a little bit more business focused. And then of course, when students are doing their capstone projects and everything, there should be a business component to those as well. So that's happening, integrated very much through the curriculum. And then for students who are very interested in business, there's actually a whole degree for them now. So that business engineering and management science degree is really for that quantitatively oriented student who really wants those fundamental analysis skills, data analytics, supply chain things, all those kinds of stuff, where we're really a minds trained student with those great skills would just really excel in the business world. And so there's a whole degree for them that's just as rigorous, just as challenging as every one of our other degrees, but very much using those quantitative skills and more of a business focus. So that's how we're handling that. And for everybody else whose question we didn't quite get to, as Doug said, we usually try to follow up within about a week with frequently sort of a personal phone call with you, just to give you a chance to get an answer to you on your question. And I really appreciate all of you being here. This is always so much fun to do. Please keep in mind, and John, yes, we'll follow up with you on your question, I promise. And anyway, thanks so much for making time. Thank you so much for supporting Minds. I hope you can see that all the things that you are doing to help Minds are actually making Minds a great place, getting us prepared for that future and that big celebration we're going to have 2 years from now. So Doug, I don't know if you have any last minute comments for folks, but you know,
I don't,
hey,
but thanks, Paul.
I'll just say go Ore Diggers, and Doug, you can have it.
Perfect. Thank you all very much for giving us the time this evening. Minds is worth your time and your effort and your support, and we're grateful for it. Have a great evening.